How much do Facebook ads even cost, and where do you start with setting your ad budget? In this video, I'm gonna walk you through my exact process for defining an ad budget based on your sales goals. And at the end, I'm going to share an example of a few different funnels and the different conversions you should expect with each of them. The first step in determining your ad budget is to define how much revenue you want to generate with your Facebook ads in the next 30 days. And then we will work backwards from there to achieve that revenue goal. Once you have that sales goal, you need to figure out how many sales in actual units you need to sell. So that means that total revenue goal divided by the cost or the average cost of your offer. And that will tell you how many units you want to sell. For example, if I wanted to make $10,000 in the next 30 days running ads and I had a $1,000 product, I would need to sell 10 units of that product. So I would know my goal is $10,000 and 10 different sales. Now, once we have the number of units we want to sell to achieve our sales, we need to define either how many landing page views we need from our ads or leads. And the way we do that is we figure out our average sales conversion. So I'm going to walk you guys through a couple of industry averages. If you have data on your own from anything you've previously done, absolutely use that and plug this into this formula. So first, if your business is set up where you get email leads and then you sell to customers, through a webinar, through a video series, something like that, you're defining how many email leads you need to achieve your sales goal. And we need to come up with a sales conversion of those leads. We're going to just use 5% to make it easy. If you have a really expensive product, you will have a lower sales conversion. If you have a really inexpensive product under $300, you might have a higher sales conversion. Feel free to adjust this for your business. So then we take the number of sales we just defined and we divide that by our sales conversion we've chose. So we would do 10 divided by 5, and we will multiply that by 100. That equals 200, so I need 200 email leads. Now, if you run ads straight from the ad to a product, we have to calculate how many landing page views you need. So let's say 7% of all the people who land on your sales page buy your product. We'll take that sales goal, let's use 10 again as an example, divided by 7 times 100. So we'll need approximately 143 people to land on our page to then buy our product. Once we have these numbers, we can determine our ad spend budget by multiplying either by the cost per lead or the cost per landing page view. Don't worry if you don't know your average cost per lead. It can range anywhere from $2 to $10, depending on your industry, depending on how much your offer is, and depending on what you're sending them to. Let's start with the lead example. Now I'm gonna use an average cost of $4 cost per lead. In order to get 200 leads, we'll multiply by 4. We need to spend $800 in ad spend to get those 200 leads. Now let's look at the landing page view example. The average landing page view costs 50 cents to $3. So if we took 143 times $1, we would need to spend $143. Now this is the question most people will have at this point. What if I get to this step and I don't want to spend that much money on my ads? What you have to do is just use this formula and go back and adjust it until your sales goal matches a reasonable ad spend goal. And that's one of the most important reasons that you do this before running ads. This is what stops people from boosting posts or throwing things out there and hoping they work, because we're going to go into this very intentionally. I'm going to spend $800 to make $10,000. So let's say instead of selling 10 of those courses, you put your goal as 100. You want to do $100,000 in the next 30 days selling those courses. You would say, I want to sell 100 courses at that 5% sales conversion means that you need 2,000 leads. At that $4 cost per lead, our ad spend would then be $8,000. And you keep playing with these numbers until your budget aligns with your sales goal and is something you're willing to spend based on where you're at today in your business. If your budget is feeling too high, then you can decrease your sales goal, or you can play with your conversion numbers to get it to a place where it matches what you're willing to spend today. Now, if you get here and your budget is too low and you're actually willing to spend more, then increase that budget and you'll also be able to increase your sales goal. I do have some general rules of thumb when planning out your budget. The first one is I recommend having a minimum of $500 to put towards your Facebook ads. I feel like anything less than that, it's not really worth it and you don't get the traction. The other rule of thumb comes with that average conversion rate. Business to consumer marketing is very different from business to business marketing. Generally, in the business to consumer space, you're gonna have a lot less cost per lead and cost per landing page view. You'll be on that lower end of the averages, but your sales conversion will be a little bit lower. The consumers usually need a couple more touch points with your brand, and they're a little bit harder to sell to. But in the business to business space, you'll probably pay higher cost per lead. You might be on that higher end of the industry averages. But then if you actually successfully get someone to your landing page or to your webinar, your sales conversion will be higher. So those are a few things to take into consideration depending on your business and your industry when planning out these metrics. Before I get into the next tip, do you mind hitting the like button? It really helps our channel out. Now let's look at what these numbers look like with a few specific funnels. Let's start with the webinar funnel. So with a webinar, an average cost per webinar registration is anywhere from $3 to $10. If you are in an industry targeting consumers, again, you'll probably be at the lower end, and targeting business owners, you'll probably be at that higher end. Let's look at a high ticket sales funnel where you would be selling people through a call or an application into your higher level service. In this sales funnel, usually about 1 to 3% of your leads will actually purchase, and it might vary how you're getting them to that call. So if you're using a webinar, you'll fall within that $3 to $10 average cost per webinar registration as well. And finally, let's look at an e-commerce funnel. This would also be relevant to a self-liquidating offer funnel if you have a very low priced digital product and you're going straight from your ad to your product. You will pay an average of 50 cents to $3 for that landing page view, and you should be converting anywhere from 5 to 10% of that traffic. Now I know that was a ton of numbers, so feel free to go back and screenshot that chart and come back to it anytime. Now it's time to build the funnel that is right for your business and your unique goals. This is the first video in my complete Facebook ad process. Click here to watch the playlist of all the rest of them. Or here's another video that I think you might like.